This is the Breakaway USA live show. Today is November 21st. Welcome to the show, guys. We've got a fantastic show for you. One of the first topics we're going to go over is this funny little story at a Taylor Swift concert. Apparently, they're trying to push global warming as a reason for. So, listen, the story isn't actually funny because somebody did die from heat exhaustion, and like definitely condolences to the family, and like it's a terrible thing that happened, but the media is trying to appropriate this this death and calling it climate change.
Yeah, so a fan died of heat. It's a rising risk with climate change. And I found a story and I immediately thought, because I've seen this happen before, whenever you see a very, very ridiculous headline, something exactly like this, chances are that the author works for or has a connection with the World Economic Forum. So, as I found a story, I was telling Gentry, I bet you this person works for the WEF. All I had to do was just Google her name. And sure enough, I find this article here. And if you look at this article, she is referenced in the end notes for this WEF article. Now, this has happened more than one time. I actually I made a video about this where there was an absolutely ridiculous claim article. I googled the name of the author, and they have a page at the WEF, and the person has like 6 Twitter followers. Just graduated from the university as a environmental journalist.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's clear that they are getting these people young to indoctrinate them, and then help them get validation and social validity, and then now they work for the WEF and they'll peddle whatever crap that the WEF wants them to peddle.
So, I mean, we did laugh when we first heard this headline, but because it is, I mean, it's not funny, but it totally is, because they're trying to use a tragedy to push a narrative, and there's really no good reason for it. Like, if it, like, let's just say it was true and climate change did contribute to, her passing away, why didn't more people? Like, what was going on with her? Was she, on drugs? Was she sleep deprived? Was she drunk? What?
Well, they're not going to tell you that because it doesn't
Yeah.
play into the narrative. But I've said this before, that it's so funny that they call it climate change. I think marketing wise, global warming was much better,
Hmm.
because climate change, yes, it's more generic, and climate is a study of weather patterns over the course of a few decades, typically 30 years
Hmm.
is what they consider climate. So the fact that they call it climate change, I understand why they did it, because it's logically impossible to dispute that the climate is changing. The climate is always changing. It's never been static for
Hmm.
long periods of time. We have ice ages, we have heating. I mean, like the world changes all the time. So
Hmm.
yes, climate change technically it is happening, but they're saying that it's getting hotter because of CO2 and the humans, and now we can't move around. We got to stay inside our 50-minute cities, and we got to give all power to Papa Klaus Schwab and own nothing and be happy. So it's great marketing on their end. So I definitely have to give that to them.
Yeah. I've listened to some lectures about this whole CO2 thing, and I don't fully understand it, but from my understanding, they make it really, really complicated so that people who don't have the understanding um, just kind of believe the scientist. But it's not made up data, but they manipulate the numbers and manipulate what it all means, and they use percentages instead of like um, actual numbers to exaggerate, right? Because you could say there was 100% increase, but that means it goes from 1 to 2, right? And so it's that kind of stuff to really confuse people about this whole global warming thing. The problem is people are going to see this headline, and because Taylor Swift's crowd is pretty much indoctrinated with, take the vaccine and vote for Joe Biden, vote Democrat, that they're going to believe this.
Also, now you have to buy that Kelsey guy's all of his merchandise because it somehow helps the world be
Well, I
better.
think his jersey is probably the most expensive in the NFL right now.
Yeah,
I mean,
that entire thing is a work. Vince McMahon from the WWE would have loved to have that storyline as one of his gimmicks because I mean, you take this guy and now you give him a Pfizer sponsorship and he's sponsored by every single thing. I was in Dallas, Texas with a few friends a few weeks ago, a month ago, and we went to watch a Dallas game and they were playing the Chiefs and 3 or 4 commercials in a row were all of this Kelsey guy,
mhm.
Express, Pfizer, and he has that stupid little blue band-aid that says, basically get your shots. I'm like, dude, this guy is such a pawn. He's been selected to create a power couple. The next, I don't know who knows that, the next Bill and Hillary Clinton for the left.
Mhm.
And they're trying to recruit other celebrities, and it's fractious right now because you even had a Cardi B who I've never. I mean, listen, I talk a lot of crap on Cardi B. I hate ignorance. I hate ignorant people. I don't like it. And if you have all the money in the world, why will you still be ignorant? But even she came out against Joe Biden and the Democrats and what they're doing. So it's interesting.
Yeah, she had like a 5-minute rant on her Instagram live to about 30,000 people on the live, but then millions of people have seen it since. And she is just going after Democrats and Biden for all these crazy policies. She even cites that the police in New York City are going to get defunded. Schools are going to get defunded. I think she even calls out sanitation, which is like a big thing. That's what separates us from third world countries is sanitation, right? Like our poop isn't running in the streets.
Yeah.
It's a good thing. That's a good thing. And if they're going to cut down on that and cut down on water, I think, Fabian, that's one of the points that you talk about all the time. But if they're going to limit all of that stuff, I mean, that's a really, really big thing, especially for New York, right? Not the capital of the world, but it's kind of one of them in a way. It's the Big Apple, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and just to give you an idea of what it's like, going back to the sanitation thing. I mean, Sardinia and parts of Italy that have the massive cartels that run the sanitation. When things get really bad, you should check out trash in Italy because literally they won't pick up trash for 2 weeks and the trash is just sitting out there. I mean, it's disgusting. And that's one thing that doesn't get enough love or respect is the sanitation department because they literally clean up our crap. But as far as Cardi B goes, yeah, so one thing I was thinking about is clearly the plan is a motion to get rid of Joe Biden now. Everything's turning against him slowly. You have people in the DNC saying he might be too old. They're going on CNN talking about his age. It was just his birthday. He's doing all these things that are kind of showing that they're already starting to phase him out for Newsom or Michelle Obama. But if you're the Democratic Party and you hear now Cardi B, who influenced a lot of, one of the most famous Black artists right now in the entire world, maybe the most famous female Black artist in the world, and you need the Black vote, how long do you wait and say, you know what, this is not good? Where more people are going to start turning away from us unless we act quicker. So maybe the timeline that they had, whatever, if it's 4, 5, 6 months from now when they have Joe Biden drop out, if that's the plan to put Newsom in or Michelle Obama, I could be in a war room if I was in the DNC saying, you know what, things are starting to turn against us way faster than we thought. We need to accelerate this timeline now because we're going to lose all the Black vote. We're losing all the 18 to 34 young voters. We're losing the Latin vote. Like, what else do they have? If the Democratic Party loses the Black vote, they are done. I mean, they wouldn't have won any election like the last 50 years if it wasn't for the Black vote. And when you have people of this caliber standing up, I know Kanye did it, but that was a different world social media wise. I think it's really, really telling of the situation that we're living in.
Well, what I think is really interesting is they do have a Black woman in as vice president, and there's no chatter about her.
No one talks
Like
about
none at all. She's proven to be like I don't necessarily know what they were thinking, but she's proven to be one of the most unpopular vice presidents of all time.
I just didn't think, or I think that they didn't know how bad she was, maybe. Or
How-
you know what? Maybe the plan was never to have her go on to the next, try to push her for president. I mean, think about it. You have Michelle Obama there. Why would you bring in someone else that's not as popular, not as famous, doesn't have the Obama name?
Mhm. So let me ask you a question. Do you think that this Cardi B video was planned, or do you think she did it out of her own accord?
You know, with people who like clout and like fame, they're liable to say anything.
Mhm.
I don't like Cardi B as a person. I don't like what she talks about, what she espouses, what she tells young girls is okay,
Mhm.
morality wise. I just don't like anything that comes out of her mouth. Basically,
Mhm.
I don't know that you can control someone like that unless you're offering her money. And if you're offering her money, she has money. So what are you offering her to say that
Yeah.
on a
Yeah.
live, very unscripted?
Mhm.
So I don't think so. I think she just said it
Yeah.
because maybe she's walked, something happened in that day and she just got pissed off.
Mhm.
Maybe she saw one of your stories and it like you never know. You never know what happened in that person's life and what they're seeing online.
Yeah.
That's gonna give them that idea.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, because Michael Rappaport went out and made a video very similar in the last week, and he was talking about all this anti um, anti-Semitic stuff, and he was really disappointed with how Joe Biden is handling it. And he's like, "Listen, I might have to vote for Trump," and I don't think that that was a planned thing. It seemed like he was just saying that because he felt that way, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of these, because like a lot of the DNC, the media, the establishment, they're it's kind of obvious they're trying to get Biden out by having his poll numbers drop, talking about his age, even like being critical of him, like we are. But with videos like Cardi B and Michael Rappaport, you got to ask the question like, is their vehicle, is their propaganda vehicle breaking up?
Yeah.
I think it
So
might be.
let's actually watch this video by Michael Rappaport because he is one of the biggest Trump has been one of the biggest Trump haters on social media, and now he's saying his tune is a little different now.
Warning, there is some foul language in here.
Yeah, thank God we're on Rumble.
I am sorry.
Can you hear it?
Voting for Pig Dick Donald Trump is on the table. I'm sorry. I'm fucking so. I'll still call him Slob Dick Donald Trump, Pig Dick Donald Trump, and all that. But we need to get this whole fucking situation under control.
I mean, you can't argue with that, man. No matter who you are.
I mean, that's a really, I feel like that's a really good video for him to post because he's so desperate to get this thing under control. I mean, I feel like the Israel Palestine scenario really has drawn a lot of lines in the Democratic Party, mostly because everyone's like, well, hang on, like we like Israel, and there's a whole bunch of Jews that are liberal and they donate to all these causes and stuff like that. Charlie Kirk's done a really good job of covering how many Jewish donors have actually stopped giving to the DNC and all these colleges and all this kind of stuff because it's really breaking up the apparatus.
Yeah.
And I think they're getting to a really desperate point. I wish it didn't have to come to this, but I'm glad that they're seeing some sense.
Yeah, and I've said this before, is that these are not people who believe in democracy. These are leftists. And there's a big difference between liberals, which are Democrat, and leftists who just happen to be voting for Democratic Party because they had a voice in the platform. But now they've gotten to the point where they've gotten so strong as a group that they're calling for things that leftists want, not Democratic people or
Mhm.
Democrats or liberals. And you're
Mhm.
starting to see a fracturization between people who say, you know what, that's too much. I
Yeah.
mean, to think that Michael Rappaport in 2016, if you would have told me like he's going to be saying this, my thought would have been
Mhm.
like, you're out of your mind.
Right.
But we are seeing that the left eats its own. It's not a democratic supporting ideology. It's not meant
Mhm.
for that. And
Mhm.
we're seeing that now. And I think I even said a few weeks ago, like the Democratic Party is only allowing Antifa and all these leftist organizations to thrive because number one, they can't control them, but up to now, they've been helping them.
Mhm.
But now they're not even voting for Trump. So who are they going to vote for?
Mhm. Mhm.
Not Trump. I'm sorry. They're not supporting Biden. Who are they going to vote for now? I don't think Trump.
I mean,
RFK.
most likely RFK, but they're definitely not voting for Democrats, especially if the talking point is going to be similar to, the Biden admin. So
Yeah. So what
that's
do you do if you're Michelle Obama or you're Newsom and you see this happening, and the DNC is like, "All right, you're up next. You ready to go?"
I
Your entire platform is now thrown in disarray. Do you appease these people for the votes? Do you do that? And do you ruin the Democratic Party for the next who knows how long?
well, I think it's a classic pendulum swing, right? It swung too far to the left, so it's going to swing even more to the right. And I think that in order to win votes, Democrats have to get more in the center. I
Yeah,
don't think that's going to happen. And I think because of the advent of RFK running as an independent, he's going to take a lot of those votes in the
yeah.
middle because he does appeal to more of the traditional Democratic values. But I don't think they can. I don't think that the Democrats can masquerade as centrists anymore. I really don't think they can.
One thing that they can do is if they figure that this is a losing issue, we both know that there's uniparty in control. So
Mhm.
Democrats take one year, Republicans the next, but they're all sickly working together in the background to all profit themselves and build up their family legacy and screw everyone else. But for the most part, but if you're the Democratic Party and now you see the writing on the wall, like, hey, we let these guys get way too powerful. How do we stifle them? How do we get rid of them? If you own the media organizations, which clearly we know they do they stop maybe writing about them so much or putting them in a positive light to slowly make their cause look bad now, like they've done to the conservatives for so long? And do they do that up until the point where they feel they're no longer strong enough? And like there's so much that they don't even know. And I'm thinking out loud, but
Mhm.
that's a big problem for them.
Yeah, yeah. Well, their apparatus is getting destroyed on multiple accounts. The next story we have up on the docket is Media Matters is going after X in a very sinister way. They're basically creating bots and manipulating the algorithm, and then they've successfully gotten a whole bunch of advertisers to get off of X. And so Elon Musk is actually suing them. So yesterday he put up a tweet saying that he's suing them. And then right after that, Ken Paxton filed a lawsuit from the state of Texas, just saying, "Hey, this is manipulative business practice. Like you cannot do this." And so they're in a crap storm of all these lawsuits, and they're going to have to raise tens of millions of dollars to fight these. But you're going after Texas, and you're going after the richest man in the world. Um, are their donors going to want to fund these lawsuits?
And I'm going to pull up the Media Matters financial sheet to see exactly how much money they have. Also, Tucker Carlson last year said something very interesting about Media Matters. And we're going to get to that right after this quick commercial about Gentry's new show. So I went on Wikipedia yesterday to learn more about Media Matters,
Hmm.
and apparently, they only have about $10 million available to them. Like that's like their whatever they make. I don't know how accurate that is, but that's not that much money when you're trying to run a campaign. Um, so yeah, so revenue. Let me pull this up here. The revenue is $12 million,
Hmm.
and expenses are 11 million. So apparently, they don't really make any money.
Hmm.
I don't know how accurate that is, but if you're a super PAC and now you got to go against say the Texas Ken Paxton and Elon Musk and all of his money, are you going to see a bunch more money just filtering into Media Matters that's going to take the revenue from 12 million to like, I
Hmm.
don't know, 50 million?
Hmm.
And where's that money going to be coming from?
Hmm.
And how are you going to run this operation that you're trying to get Joe Biden or whoever elected while you're in the midst of this massive lawsuit? So that's going to be
Hmm.
very interesting.
So these people are self-appointed and they monitor all of these conservative talk shows and actually just all media. If you want to scroll down, um, I want to read this.
Mhm.
They so it says the techniques include content analysis, fact checking, monitoring, comparison of quotes or presentations from media figures to primary documents, such as Pentagon and government accountability. So these guys are self-appointed fact checkers, and we got to ask the question: who do these people think they are? Because all the fact checks that have come out in the last few years, probably funded by Media Matters,
Yeah.
are is garbage.
Yeah.
They're trying to twist a narrative. They're trying to put strikes on our account. I mean, I shared my account status with Fabian yesterday. Maybe that'd be a fun one to throw up there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it says, you know, your account, you could lose access to your account, and I've had that notice on there for 2 years. It's quite astonishing, and it's because of companies like this. It's because of super PACs like this who are trying to monitor our speech online. And like, I'm wondering if this is a violation of the First Amendment, to be honest.
Hmm.
Because if that's what they're doing, um, and they're trying to limit what we're saying online by discouraging us, by um, censoring and shadow banning and deboosting our accounts online. I mean, that definitely could be a violation of the First Amendment, which means that Media Matters and all sorts of other fact checking apparatuses should be disbanded.
Yeah. Yeah. That it's going to be a very interesting next year or so. Well, this all simmers in court and you see everything come out
Mm-hmm.
because I mean, what Elon and Twitter are accusing them of doing with the bots and getting all these advertisers to pull from X and Twitter, there's so many avenues that you can sue them for. For what one could be for lost revenue, for falsification of data, for collusion. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, but I could just think of so many routes you can go down to get
Mm-hmm.
these people. One thing that I actually didn't know that I learned yesterday, I guess I'm behind the times on this, is the person who founded this is a guy named David Brock. And I know Gentry, you knew this, but I was very appalled yesterday, and a lot of people listening may or may not know this, but so David Brock is the guy who funded it. Now I did a deep dive into David Brock yesterday, and he's been listed by Times Magazine as one of the most influential operatives of Democratic Party. He's the guy that got Anita Hill to file a lawsuit against Bill Clinton. So he was against Bill Clinton. He grew up or he began his career as a right-wing investigative reporter. And then after he had Anita Hill file the lawsuit, Paula Jones filed a lawsuit against Bill Clinton, he switched sides and then aligned himself with Bill and Hillary Clinton. Then he founded Media Matters in 2004. 2004 was right around where Howard Dean, I believe, was running for president. The interesting thing is that he has a boyfriend, so he's a gay individual, and his boyfriend was, what was this guy's name?
James Alefantis.
James Alefantis. I'm trying to look for him here. Now, James Alefantis, I mean, I swear, I feel like I'm watching a soap opera. This is a guy who owned Comic Pizza or Comic Ping Pong, whatever it was, in
Yeah.
DC, which was a subject of something called Pizzagate.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, how the hell? I feel like I'm watching a Netflix documentary on like the stupidest criminals ever. Like you're
Yeah.
literally dating the dude who's being accused of having all this crazy stuff happen in his pizza parlor. It's just, I don't know, man. Sometimes it's just too ridiculous the way things go.
It's one of those really interesting connection points, and you got to wonder how many coincidences is too much. Like, if it's all coincidence, is it actually a coincidence?
Yeah.
Right. All these people are intersecting in some way, and for a long time, the Pizzagate conspiracy theory, right, was debunked, but now somehow it's coming up again because of another guy who's affiliated with it and who's going after our free speech. Like, why do all roads point to sex trafficking when it comes to Democrats? Why?
I'm sure the Republicans have people in there that are doing this as well. But
for sure
but it's all coming from one side right now. It's so weird. And as you may or may not know, I grew up a Democrat, and I worked in campaigns for Democratic politicians here in California. And even I'll tell you that the stuff I would hear and the stuff that people would ask me for, like, what in the hell? Like, why would you ask me something like that? But I thought those were isolated cases back then. I didn't know what I knew now. So in my head, I'm like, oh, this is just a weird dude, But now that I'm seeing this, clearly it's a pattern. And I'm like, wow, this is insane. It's sad, man. Like it's really sad. So now I'm going back and I'm thinking about relationships that I used to have with people, and the people who that would ask me these things. And I'm like, this is weird. This is really, really weird. Seeing it from the inside and now from the outside looking in.
All roads lead to sex trafficking. It's really weird. And it's one of those topics that the liberal media doesn't really talk about. And whenever I post it on X or Twitter, they always send me this list of like all these Republicans too that have been caught up in some sort of sex trafficking ring. And I'm like, good, get them all. This is the most disgusting thing that I've ever heard of in my entire life. And we have to get all these people, not just Democrats, Republicans, like literally everyone, right? Church leaders, teachers, cops, everyday people, politicians. We got to get everybody in this thing. Like, it's not like I'm not going to show leniency just because you agree with me on policy. Like you're a disgusting person.
Yeah. As you were saying this,
Anyway.
no, you're absolutely right. And as you were talking about this, it reminded me of kind of where all this comes from. And it's called Gnosticism. So I don't know if people have heard of Gnosticism, but it's essentially theorized that this is where all this weird child sex stuff comes from. So Gnosticism was an early deviation of Christianity, and it's kind of morphed into this really weird thing with these satanic rituals and things like that. And that's what a lot of people say, that all these Bohemian Grove and all these weird rituals come from. But it was actually a thing. So I want to show what Gnosticism says about sex. This is something that I research a lot because it's so interesting how these things just morph and they stick around. So this is about Gnosticism. And I'll read this short paragraph. It says, one of these views was that active chastity shows far too much preoccupation with the body. Sex was seen as not as a sin, but as a way for humans to reach a more primal state. During sex, women and men will become one body. Since Eve was born before Adam, becoming one body would bring a man and a woman closer to the true God. So there's a really interesting point, and I don't want to get too deep because this is what I'm going to cover in my woke origin series, which it's coming very soon. But if you read into where it says that woman and man will become one body during sex, this is eliminating the distinction between man and woman. And if you see what the leftists are doing now, where they're trying to remove the distinction of man and woman and just become one, this plays into what they essentially exactly what they say. And it goes much, much deeper than this, but everything is connected. There is nothing that is happening right now that is random. The fact that all of a sudden people believe there are 1,800 different genders at once, it's not random. This is all meant to confuse people. There's something called dialect. I don't want to get into it, but there's these people named, Hegel and other philosophers that invented all this crap, and people believe it, and now they've made it into this thing. So I definitely suggest you research Gnosticism. It was banned.
Well, I definitely suggest that people tune into your show.
Yeah. We're gonna go over this. This is what I love to do personally, is really dive deep and say, like, why the hell is this happening? So that's what we're gonna do on the Woke Origin series. So once we advertise it and it's up, stick around and we'll go over this together.
So the next story we have is it's actually breaking news from the last couple hours. Charlie Kirk is reporting that the DOD is going after Turning Point Action.
Yeah.
So they leadership at Air Force Base, North Dakota, warns airmen to not attend a rally during a Turning Point Actions or blah, blah, blah. I'll start over. Leadership at Air Force Base in North Dakota warns airmen to not attend rally featuring Turning Point Action's Tyler Boyer or risk jeopardizing their military career. So the DOD has declared war on conservatives. Congress should immediately investigate. This is absurd. So why would the DOD be going after conservatives? This seems like a very bold move for them. They have there has been some like drag queen story hours on some military bases that Matt Gaetz uncovered, I think about a year ago. And it's all just really interesting why they would go after this. I mean, like, I feel like the military should be bipartisan. Like the whole thing should be, you want to help save the country. It shouldn't be an arm of the Democrats. Like what kind of power does Joe Biden and the White House think that they have over the DOD, that they can just limit people to only listen to the liberal media?
Yeah, I think a large part of what it was is the fact that now you have a man who thinks he's a woman that's a general, I believe, what's the whatever he is. And a lot of people similar to that have been installed in positions of power in the military. And now we're seeing the wants of those people turn into rules for everyone else. So you couldn't have these types of rules unless you had the people that were in charge of enacting rules follow this type of mentality. And I think we're seeing that and clearly it's a violation of the First Amendment. That's like saying you can't read a Bible or read the Quran while in the military. It's essentially the same exact thing, because you're just listening to someone speak. And the same thing, and reading a book and listening to something is the same thing according to the First Amendment. So in reality, what are they doing? They're stopping people from practicing self-expression.
Yeah. And then what does it mean that their careers are going to be in jeopardy? Like, are they going to be dishonorably discharged for attending a Turning Point Action rally? Like, it's unbelievable. But then from Tyler Boyer's perspective, I feel like it's almost like honoring that the White House and the DOD is scared of him, right? That means that he's on the right track.
Yeah.
Like the guy must be doing something cool.
Yeah. I just saw the other day that the military is now sending out letters saying that if you were dishonorably, or rather, if you were discharged for not taking the vaccine. They are now going to change it from being dishonorably discharged to I don't know what. So they're doing that. They're also changing their tune apparently, and now you don't have to be vaccinated to join the military. And I saw a bunch of memes and a bunch of people talking about now that we think we're going to war, you actually need people who are going to know how to fight, not these, these whatever these fairies or whatever you want to call them. It's
Are you sure that
interesting.
Are you sure that wasn't a Babylon Bee article?
So I did see something of theirs, but I could have swore I saw a letter that someone posted on Twitter saying that if they were discharged for being vaccinated, that they're going to change it. But I can look that up just to verify.
Yeah, I think Benny Johnson posted that. Maybe I saw it, but I thought it was a joke, to be honest, because I mean, it does sound like a Babylon Bee article. There's another video that went viral yesterday. I don't know if you saw this one, but it was a guy that had just been discharged, right? So he got out of the military.
Yes.
And they were trying to charge him for gear that they told him to leave in Afghanistan. And it was a wild thing. He went through and was just like, I'm really disappointed in our military. They are able to send billions overseas to fund both sides of wars. They're willing to, cancel student loan debt when these kids are going and getting weird wacko degrees, but they want to charge me $3,500 for gear that they told me to leave in Afghanistan. Like, this is unreal. It's unfair. We're not even taking care of our own military, and we're trying to control what they consume. Like, this is, I don't know. He ended it though. He's like, I'm really glad to be out of the military because I don't want to serve the military anymore. But he said something like, I'm really thankful that I can now go serve my country. So that guy went viral, got a ton of views. I think he even posted his Venmo on his TikTok. So if you guys want to go find that video and check it out and donate to the cause, hopefully he's gotten over $3,500.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it, but I can't find it at the moment.
Yeah, let me.
Yeah, it was sad. I just watched it today. I watched it this morning actually, and
yeah, let me. If you don't mind, I'll text you the video here.
Yeah, and he even said something along the lines of like, I would scream, but I don't think that anything would happen.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
It's so sad, and it makes me wonder, because this is just one story that we're hearing, right? How many other people are in his same scenario going through the same thing? There's probably thousands, right? There's probably thousands. And this guy honestly looks like a stud. He's obviously a patriot and he loves America. But like, who's going into the military right now? Are patriots going into the military?
That's a hard question. I mean, I know veterans who are just so pissed still from the Afghanistan withdrawal that I don't know, but I know that the military is not meeting the recruitment numbers this year by a large margin, and if they do it again the next year, they're going to be very, very short staffed. So I think they're trying to do things to increase participation in the military and increase maybe like decrease how hard it is to get in, but they've already done that. I don't know what else they could do at this point other than go on woke, and I mean, who knows how that's going to go.
Right. Here, let me text you this libs of TikTok thing.
Perfect. And in the meantime, we are going to show you a commercial about Michael's new show coming up, which is called America's Founding Documents. All right. So that is Michael's show that is coming up. It's going to be a once-a-week show, I believe, which is going to dive deep into America's founding documents and really give you insight as to what they said and why they said it it's honestly incredible watching or reading what they wrote because they had so much insight. It's it's like they were living in a different world, which they were.
Mhm.
But we think people being, people a few hundred years ago were kind of dumb. It makes you rethink everything because the stuff. I mean, I have Thomas Jefferson's book right here on my desk that I'm reading all of his writings, and this guy was an absolute animal. And I suggest people, if you want to read some of your founding fathers,
That's a
read
thick
this.
book.
It is a thick book. This has all of it's his autobiography, notes on the state of Virginia, public and private papers, addresses, and letters. So I'm reading this massive letter right now that he wrote to the King of England, telling him why they are doing what they're doing, and telling the king, like, dude, you're doing all these things to us, and this is why we're doing this. So it's pretty incredible to write a letter to the person that you're gonna, that you're rebelling against, and telling them specifically why. Like that's kind of a nice thing to do, at least.
It's always good to go back to the founding. Always good to go back to the beginning and understand the why and the structure and all this kind of stuff. And Michael has a mind that is almost unparalleled. He can, I mean, that guy's brilliant. So I'm really, really excited for his show.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me pull up this video of this veteran. I guess now he's a veteran,
Mm-hmm.
but this is him talking about what happened when something that made him so disillusioned with the military.
I want to share something with you guys today. I want to holler, I want to scream, I want to yell, but it won't do any good. Today is gear turn-in day for me. Turn in all the gear that I've collected over the last 4 years of being active duty with the Army, with the 82nd Airborne Division. 2 years ago, my unit deployed to Afghanistan for the Afghanistan withdrawal. We spent a few weeks over there. It was hectic, it was chaotic, it was disgusting, and it made me very disappointed in our government. Today, I'm reminded of how disappointed I am in our government. Go to turn in my gear. They want to charge me $500 to $1,000 for gear that I was ordered to leave in Afghanistan 2 years ago. Because as the last two birds were sitting on the tarmac, ready to leave, there wasn't any room for extra gear or extra weight. Therefore, we were told to leave it. Some lower enlisted dudes, including myself, were like, no, this stuff is expensive. I'm not leaving this. I'm going to get charged for this when it comes time to leave. Don't worry. We're going to catch you on the back end. We'll flipple it. No. It's time to get out of the Army, and they want to charge you for that. Meanwhile, we can continue to give millions of dollars to the Taliban. We can give billions of dollars to Ukraine. We can give billions of dollars to student debt relief. We can give a bunch of stupid stimulus checks. We can cut those to the American people. But we can't cover $500 to $1,000 for a dude that left gear in Afghanistan, for a dude that left gear in a place that you put me to begin with. The government is so stinking backwards right now, man. This administration's last priority is the American people. And inside of the American people, their last priority is their soldiers, their Marines, their airmen, their Navy. So messed up, man. I thought today was going to be bittersweet getting out, but I'm just so happy to separate. I'm very, very excited to stop serving my government and just getting started serving my country.
Ooh, that was deep.
Sad. Today is November 20th. This is the amount they want to hit me with leaving service, $3,561. I'm not asking for help, but if you wanted to help, I would greatly appreciate it.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
5.8 million views. He definitely got his money back plus more.
I hope that guy I hope people rally around him, and there's tens of thousands of people that send him like $5, $10, $100. Like I might even go do it just to say, hey man, I saw the video. I love what you're doing. We covered it on the show. Like, let's you're a freaking champion,
Yeah.
and we got you.
Actually, yeah, there's no link here, but we maybe try to find it later on.
Yeah.
Or if you even post his you know, his Twitter account or X account.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sad. Our government is backwards.
In better news, the Argentine stock market. Do you think it did? Let me ask an obvious question. Do you think it did good, or do you think it did bad when Milei won yesterday and got rid of the socialist government in Argentina? Maybe let's find out. Argentine election or Argentine stock market up 20%
Let's go.
after Milei election. 20%. That is insane.
And that's the whole stock market, not just one stock, not just one outlier, one, moon rocket. That's the whole thing.
Wow.
So Argentina is doing well. I have the sudden urge to go to Argentina now.
Inflation
Oh
is
my
at
gosh.
143%.
Oh my gosh.
He says he's going to
That's
ditch the currency, the peso, for the US dollar and shut down the central bank. Okay. We gotta, yeah.
That's gonna be good.
So, central bank. All right. Do we have time to go down a rabbit hole? No. Okay. Let me just quickly explain what he just said right now. I didn't know he said this, but that's huge. So the central bank essentially is owned, well, whether or not you want to believe it, it's owned by essentially one family, right?
Mhm.
What are the only countries that refuse or shut down the central bank or refuse to have a central bank? It was Gaddafi. It was it's Putin. He has no central bank. It is or was many leaders that were starting to talk about doing this exact same thing. What happened to them is that they either somehow mysteriously died, or their country turned against them, or they were invaded. Saddam Hussein in Iraq.
Mhm.
So all these countries, and you can even look this up for yourself. This is a pretty incredible thing. Every leader of every country that has said that they're going to shut down the central bank or has shut down the central bank has been deposed, killed, or something's happened to them.
Mhm.
I think right now the only countries that don't have central banks in the world, I know it's Russia, and I don't know any other ones. Oh, and Iran,
Mhm.
our biggest enemies. Oh, and North Korea, and basically all the countries that
Mhm.
which is really interesting to think about.
Yeah. No, I don't think that you're saying that Iran is doing good things, but it's just an interesting note to point out.
Yes,
I don't think you're saying
exactly.
North Korea is doing good things,
Not at all.
or that Russia is necessarily doing good things, but it's just an interesting thing to point out. The central bank really is. Interesting.
Yeah.
Look at
Countries
this.
without Rothschild's bank: Russia, North Korea, Iran. I don't know what country that is. Bolivia,
That's
maybe?
Argentina, isn't it?
Iran and 1 second. I'm sure there's going to be a Cuba, Iran, North Korea, Russia, Bolivia, Syria, and Abkhazia.
I've never heard of Abkhazia.
There's 6 remaining countries without banks owned by the Rothschild family.
So how rich is the Rothschilds family? They've got to be in the trillions.
Yeah, no one even knows.
I mean, how?
Well, they literally own the banks of the countries.
Yeah.
So
yeah, they own all the currency,
all of the money,
all of the money.
all of the monies.
So this is a really big deal, and we gotta really keep Javier in our prayers, because he could get killed.
Yeah, he's already making a lot of enemies. We know that.
I mean, it's unbelievable that he's trying to use the US dollars as his currency. That could be potentially a direct attack against the BRICS, right? Because all these BRICS nations are trying to destabilize the US currency. And I mean, it's really interesting. He might know something, because that's kind of a bold move, especially with the way that the US is going.
Yeah, yeah. So after the fall of Saddam Hussein's government, the Central Bank of Iraq was established as Iraq's independent central bank in 2004.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's why we went to war with them, potentially. Because
Yeah.
I mean, the Rothschilds have a really interesting history of funding wars and destabilizing governments to then come in and own the governments. I mean, I'm pretty sure they did that with London back in the day.
Yeah.
I think it was the Napoleonic Wars, but they basically bankrupted the Bank of London, and then they came in and just owned it. But they were also funding both sides of that war. They were funding Napoleon and the English, and King James. So
Yeah.
it's
this story about Gaddafi is, so I'm just reading here that
Mhm.
basically the same thing happened, that the Central Bank of Libya has been reinstated as a sovereign institution after almost a decade where it was split in two due to civil war.
Mhm.
I don't know if you ever saw the and we're kind of going off topic here, but Gaddafi had said something, in one of his speeches, where he said, if I go, you're going to have rampant, unrestricted immigration into Europe. Like, we are the ones that are holding back the floodgates from Europe. I don't know if you saw, but it's a really incredible video of
Mhm.
what he says, and I mean, exactly what he says is happening now.
Mhm.
I don't know if I can
Wow.
find that, but yeah, it's just, it's so weird. Like, everything that you were brought up to believe, and then um, earlier in your life, it's most of it is just shattering, and you're really seeing the true nature of what foreign policy is and why it's done.
Mm.
Yeah. Anyway, we can go down so many rabbit holes, man. It's just crazy how the world works. But
We really should. Maybe we could do like a conspiracy show on like a Saturday or something.
well,
And just
yeah, but
talk
I don't want to
about
call it a conspiracy show, because it's just things that people have said. Like,
Yeah,
we,
that's
we just
true.
pulled up Wikipedia that says there's only 6 banks that aren't controlled by the Rothschilds. Like, that's
And Wikipedia is a leftist organization.
yeah. Now these are just facts. I mean, it's a fact that Gaddafi said. It's the fact that that there was no
Mhm.
central bank. That Saddam Hussein got rid of the central bank. It is a fact that Iran, North Korea don't have central banks, and Russia.
Mhm.
It's just, it is what it is. Those are facts. So it's not conspiracy. It's just, we're just pointing out facts in the world that are happening.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And besides that, I think that there was something you want to talk about, Tucker Carlson, right? And Media Matters. I think we skipped it, or is that?
Yeah. I just think it's really interesting that Tucker Carlson is one of Media Matters' main subjects. So if you go back to the website there and scroll up to the top, scroll up past the blue bar, look at that. So it goes trending, Facebook, anti-Semitism, and Tucker Carlson. Like, it's literally one of their main subjects that they are talking about. They are literally a censorship organization. And this article that came out last year, Tucker Carlson credits Media Matters for the removal of hateful and bigoted social media commentary that violate terms of service. So I'm guessing, I don't know this for a fact, but they probably have operatives in these social media companies saying, hey, you should change the terms of service so that we can just say it's a private company and it's spreading hate speech and XYZ, so that we can censor better.
Wow, that's interesting. It says Carlson said they issue some report calling you racist, and then social media shuts you down.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's how it works.
Yeah, it's very strange, but Media Matters is evil.
Wow, look at this video of Tucker and Elon looking young here, and the little Twitter bird that is no longer their image.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yep. Anyway, I think that's all we
Interesting
got
world we
for
live in.
today.
Yeah. Well, guys, we did go down a few rabbit holes, but I hope you enjoyed it and then kind of open your eyes. I think Gentry is frozen right now, so it's a perfect time to get out of here anyway. So we thank you for sticking around. Make sure you follow us on socials and subscribe on X and Rumble specifically, and we will see you tomorrow.